I love a single.
Yeah, Scott works really hard to cover my face on purpose. It's like a game for him.
No good place to put my microphone.
All right, I'll move.
Look at all that space right there. There you go.
Yeah, I'll just
scoot
nut up to
a little
Zach. How about that?
Now it looks like we're all
It looks like
together.
three.
I'm like, you guys are like interview.
It's like a panel interview.
Yeah, good
Yep.
panel. I guess probably more likely it would be you interviewing us, right?
Yeah, I
if
feel
we're
like-
not paying attention to your face most of the time.
Scott's the host.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's asking us questions. All right.
Where'd you get that glass?
From Molly.
yeah. Who won?
Tommy, Courtney.
You haven't sent it yet?
Well,
No, it's been at my
here.
house.
This
I
is
know.
the display model.
No, well, okay. Sorry. I guess I should have
I'm drinking out of Tommy's.
Why have you not sent it yet?
Because I left it here after the last recording.
Oh, it's just been here the whole time.
Mhm.
Got it.
I forgot it, but I'll send it this week.
Okay.
We
So,
announced
Tommy,
it on Halloween, so
You gotta.
I mean, you already know Tommy because we announced it on social. The
Oh,
place
he's
where
not
you
a he's not a
heard-
patron.
He's not
I
a
don't think.
patron. Yeah, I was gonna say you got to become a patron, or we're not gonna send it.
yeah. When
Hold it
We
right.
don't know your address.
when Molly was like, "Oh, Tommy," and I was like, "Oh, cool, I could just hand it to him." And I was like, "Wait, I can't.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
not. He's gone."
Yeah.
Or actually, I was gonna say Zach. can
He's
hand it to
one
him.
of the few listeners who would do this, who we can't just hand it to, unfortunately.
Yeah, pretty big bummer.
You just made your life a little more complicated.
Yeah, I don't know how to ship this without breaking it. I have to buy like.
That'd be pretty
package.
funny if it broke, if it just showed up to his house broken. Especially considering his comment.
He needs it.
He apparently really needs it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that means that he needs it. Like, I assume that he's living with the Courtneys still, right?
I assume
Out
it
there?
means that he has no way to consume any liquid
That's
right
what I
now.
mean.
And
He's just drinking right out of the sink.
Is
Out of the faucet.
is is Carolyn just depriving him of use of any sort of container? Like,
maybe.
is he the guy on TikTok that's going around testing public faucets to see if they work?
that
Yeah.
sounds
He
like
looks
Tommy.
like Tommy.
Yeah, that-
Not on
He
TikTok,
doesn't.
so.
It's a homeless guy that looks awful.
This is like a viral TikTok.
This
Yeah.
guy's like faucets work.
Basically, yeah,
And
he
he
goes up to
dances.
like a hose spigot and he's like, "Let me see if this works. Let me pull out my spigot tool," because usually you can't just turn them. And then he turns them and then he goes, "Yeah," and that's it. I watch him sometimes.
He probably makes lots of money from that.
Yeah, that's wild.
well, hey, for our our patrons and you guys, my nephew was just born,
Like right now.
like right now.
That's pretty
Wow.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Byron.
cool. I hope not.
Byron Bianco.
They have not announced the name yet. He
Okay.
was 8 pounds, 6 ounces, 22.5 inches long.
It's a big
and
boy for a
very
first baby.
healthy.
Byron Bluebonnet Bianco.
Welcome to the world, Byron.
Why would you wish it to be Blue Bonnet as the middle name?
Oh,
Why-
it's
that's a fun
alliteration.
middle name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
alliteration.
Although the baby does have a very decidedly a pink bonnet in this or beanie.
It's got blue
this photo.
blue stripes.
Yeah.
I have a
That's a
shirt
boy.
that
If
looks a
you
lot
could
like
be
that.
named Byron Blue Bonnet, would you not want to be?
Byron Blue
No.
Bonnet Bianco. I
No,
mean,
why would I want that?
It's better than your name.
I'll be honest. I think I have the best name here.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Why? Why do you do
Yeah,
that?
let qualify.
I think that
statement.
Kuznicki is a very good last name. I think Jacob Daniel Kuznicki flows very well. Jake is a good solid monosyllabic nickname. I think all around it's better. It's definitely better than Zach.
I feel like all you said was just like, I just like it.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
didn't really-
There's nothing objective about any of this. It's all
Zach
it's all
Peters
about-
flows a lot better than Jacob Daniel Kuznicki.
I don't think so.
I don't know if Kuznicki just like,
Yeah, it
Rolls
kind of
off the
tongue.
a weird flavor to it.
flavor.
Nah.
Yeah, I would throw myself out there for one of the worst names. So you guys could duke it out for the best. name.
I actually,
you-
I think Scott is a cool name. I've always kind of liked that name.
I like my first name. My last name is just difficult for people. Like no one can say
Yeah.
it right the first time.
Yeah.
And it's always like shoot or shuttle.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah, I get
Shoot.
people adding in letters to my last name sometimes.
yeah.
But people are getting better on the whole at saying my
Like I
name.
don't know anyone who would say Peter's wrong.
Yeah, that's because it's boring.
Well, I mean,
I don't think so.
I don't think it's boring. It's just the most like strong
Male name.
well,
Conventional.
at least
Like Peter.
at least
Yeah.
like white male name. Like, you know, Zach John Peters is just very
That's why I like it.
strong white guy.
Oh, you guys have the same middle name? I didn't know.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
it's the
yeah.
middle name.
I was told something about my name by my new Indian manager. He's like from India, and he's like, so like you're Polish? And I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, apparently Russian names end in Y and Polish names end in I. I had no idea
Huh.
that was the rule, but it checks out with every name that I can think of.
I was gonna say I don't think I knew that as a rule, but you saying that I'm running through a few Russian people I know and Polish people I know, and yeah.
So are there Russian Kuznicki's that just end in Y?
I don't know. Kuzniki is like a corruption of a different Polish word for like Smith.
Yeah, I was gonna say I doubt there are any Kuznickis in
Ever.
Poland or in Russia because we Ellis Island
Yeah.
the crap out
I
of.
think my last
Names
name
like
means
that.
like hunter or warrior. One of those two.
There's another Jake Kuznicki who is a
I feel like
software
that
engineer.
just proves that your name's better. His is Smith, and yours is Warrior.
I mean, he makes the
I
stuff
mean,
I use to kill
yeah.
people.
I mean,
I'm just saying that Warrior's still cooler, despite him making
I
your
think
tools.
it depends.
I'm just saying for better or worse, and most of the time worse, my last name means white.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm White Tyler.
Yeah, that's how I always introduce you to people.
My
I know,
last
I
name
know.
means the rock that Jesus built his church.
Yeah, that's
So,
lame. I take it back. You're not first.
okay. Me and Peter, well, we have beef with you.
Yeah. You're Zach Rock.
Me and the greatest apostle.
Zach Rock.
Zach Rock is awesome.
Zach Rock is pretty.
Zach Rock is a
That's pretty
rapper.
solid. It's pretty solid. It's funny. My uncle years ago, because people read or pronounce our name as Blanco,
Mhm.
and we're definitely not Hispanic.
Yeah.
And my uncle, my dad's brother, looks like my little brother. He's blonde haired and blue eyed. So like Blanco really doesn't fit for him,
Yeah.
you know? And so he really thought about and talked to our family about changing his last name to Brett White at some point. And we were like, we'd rather you didn't. And he was like, yeah, fair enough. Like, I won't. But I strongly support you, Kate, and the kids going by Rock from now on.
Zach
Okay.
Rock, Jake Smith.
Kate Rock.
Tyler
Kate
White.
Rock. Does anyone's
Kate
name
Rock
sound
sounds cooler than Zach Rock.
Does
It
anyone's
really does. It's
Kate
pretty-
Rock.
Kate Rock sounds like she's a DJ.
Well,
no,
that's
Kate Rock-
K-Rock.
No, Kate Rock is like a chick rocker, I think.
Kate Rock.
Yeah,
It's like a Disney Channel character
maybe. I don't know.
that
It's cool
like
though.
that like is a front woman for a band. You know,
It sounds like a character out of the Disney Channel movie Camp Rock.
probably. Yeah,
Maybe that's the
probably the
correlation that you're
correlation.
making.
Yeah.
So I think we just established our stage names now moving forward.
Okay.
We
so
just
like as
translate our
we
names
start
to
to like
English.
become popular and stuff, we
Mm.
got Zach Rock, Jake Smith, Tyler White, and Scott Hunter.
White.
I don't. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like most of the time when
Although
you,
Hunter Scott sounds like a way better name than Scott Hunter.
It does way better.
I'll switch mine. I'm
Yeah.
Hunter Scott.
Hunter Scott is
I
a
like
pretty
that.
great stage
Hunter
name.
Scott. Cool.
So there we go.
Well, what do you guys say on the back of all of this lunacy that we jump into the story of the most ludicrous movie ever made?
Yeah, you're opening this one.
Yep.
What line? What line?
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Okay.
Action.
What is line?
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. Scene 112, take 13, mark it, action.
I did not hit her. Okay. Line.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. Take 17. Action.
I hit her.
No.
What is up, and welcome back to another episode of Rotten Potatoes, a podcast where four friends sit down and review movies that you absolutely should have seen by now, but at least one of us hasn't. My name's Tyler, and I'm here with three of my best friends.
What's up? I'm Scott.
I'm Jacob, but I go by Jake, and I have more to say on that after we get started.
Okay, I'm Zach.
Is your name not
Yeah.
Zach? Do you go by something else?
No, I mean it is Zach, and I do go by Zach.
Yeah. I'm tired of like people finding out years into knowing me that my name is Jacob, and then like getting mad at me that I didn't say it.
How is that a thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like those people are lunatics.
I would have said that, but it's happened to me so many times that I guess I'm wrong.
I know more I don't know. I think I know one person whose name is just Jake. All the other Jakes I know are Jacobs.
I know nobody.
I've never
named
met
just Jake.
one. Yeah, I've never met one.
But I promised. Apparently, a friend of the show, Jahan, who I used to work at GameStop with, found out through our podcast, and he was like, "How have you been lying to me? We've known each other for 10 years." And he's like, "How have you been lying to me this whole time?" I was like, "I don't think I lied to you." But I'm sorry. I told him I would apologize, and I'm just setting the record straight.
Well, I'm gonna ruin a like future security question for me, password security question. But my dad's given first name is Johnny.
I had no idea.
It's not like he goes by Chad. So that's his middle name. Chad is his middle name. But his name is not John. His name is Johnny.
See that?
Two N's or one?
Oh,
Two N's.
See, like
His name on his birth certificate
Johnny?
is Johnny Bianco.
Is Chad his middle name?
Yeah.
If I found that out, I would be surprised.
JOHNNY.
I'd be
You know
like,
what? We're all less mad finding that out than most people are finding out Jake's name is Jake.
Apparently.
Yeah, no, I've been called a liar
I think
probably 10 times.
For that or just
For
in
that,
general?
For that.
Okay.
I've been called a liar way more than
Unrelated
10 times.
reasons.
Yeah, unrelated.
Oh.
Unrelated. But for this, probably 10 times. People are like, I feel like you've lied to me.
Wow.
it's so like I would just assume. Why would you not just assume that Jake is short for Jacob?
I don't know.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like people could say the same thing about me, but I've never had anyone be upset when they find out that it's short for Zachary.
I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
People are pretty upset when they find out Scott's short for Scotthew.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
It's so funny. I was going to make a Scotthew joke earlier and then I let it go.
Uh-huh.
But we're reviewing a movie that I like a lot and is frankly very newly dear to my heart, The Disaster Artist. But before we jump into that, I want to give a brief, very selfish shout out. My nephew was just born literally moments ago. Very excited. We have a new, I guess,
Tiny tater tot.
tiny tater tot in our
Because they've been like making him listen to us through the womb. Right?
Oh yeah, no, I called my brother and I was like, okay, put the headphones around her stomach, around her womb while, you know.
Was he telling her it was like classical music or something to like enhance the baby's mind? But really it was us?
No, she's a tot too.
No,
Okay.
he was pretty straight up with her about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Which
That's
was I think is the right move.
No, that's the right call. I'm just
Yeah.
surprised. I'm surprised that they would want their baby to hear us.
they chose to indoctrinate their child with our voices.
I'm honored.
Just Tyler's episodes though.
That's fine. I'm still on them.
Yeah, you're all
It's not like
featured.
they're isolating Tyler's track.
No, I'm just saying.
No,
like,
they're doing that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mhm.
That's a lot of work.
There's a lot of work.
Well,
yeah.
especially since
doing
we
it.
didn't record it that way.
Yeah.
Scott's doing it for them.
yeah. I've been working with them. I multi-track record everything and send them just Tyler's audio.
That's really nice of you.
I know it's a really big investment in my nephew.
Yeah.
I think he's a future star.
And this is going to get him there.
Hearing Tyler's voice
And hearing Tyler's voice
with long pauses.
Yeah, it's like parts of the conversation.
It's really just the recording of my laugh,
Mm.
you know, that everyone's
Mm.
hoping really makes it through. But
Yeah.
well,
I think he can hear that from here. So
Like right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that?
Thanks for leaving the window open for that, so that my nephew
Can hear.
3,000 miles away can hear my
It wouldn't have
laugh.
made a difference.
Yeah.
We left the window open so that it wouldn't shatter the window on the way out.
Oh man.
All right.
Well, we're going to be talking about The Disaster Artist. I picked this movie because, to be honest, a couple of reasons. One, I can't remember who told me. So if you are a tot and you're listening, I'm very sorry. But I remember someone specifically telling me that they were obsessed with the impact of The Room being the worst movie of all time. And she told me, you guys should do a double feature of The Room and The Disaster Artist. And I thought, well, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll get around to that. That sounds like bonus content. And then about a month ago, I went with another tot, Mitchell. So shout out to Mitchell. He invited me to go see The Room in theaters. And ever since I had seen this movie, The Disaster Artist, that we're about to review, I've wanted to go see The Room in theaters because it's just supposed to be like one of those cult like experiences that you just have to have if, you know, you love movies in the way that I love movies. And I've wanted to do it. He invited me down to San Diego. I watched The Room in theaters, and I got to tell you, it was my favorite movie watching experience I've ever had in my life. My favorite movie watching experience. Definitely my favorite theater experience of all time. Jake, you would have hated it.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, in that same theater, just days before you did that, went to see one of the other worst movies of all time, Saw X. So.
But this one, The Room has at least had some time to earn that title.
Yeah.
Saw X, it's a new entry into the worst.
I don't know what I would have rather
Compendium.
watched, and I don't really want to watch The Room to find out.
Well, you would have hated this experience, Jake, because everyone was the entire time laughing, screaming, chanting. Every time water came on screen, everyone screamed water at the top of their lungs.
Why?
There's a scene, and they kind of show a clip of this happening, although I didn't understand it in the credits of The Disaster Artist. There's any time that you're in the room in the movie, The Room, the living room, there's like 4 pieces of art up that are just illustrations of a spoon, and every time a spoon comes on screen and a spoon painting comes on screen, people just throw plastic spoons up in the air.
I would have been furious.
And like at one point, like the 2 characters, this isn't necessarily depicted in the movie, The Disaster Artist, but it's sort of alluded to when they go up to San Francisco and they're like throwing the football around. In the movie The Room, there's like a 3-minute sequence of no dialogue of the 2 main characters, Tommy and the best friend Mark, just jogging uninterrupted for 3 minutes with no dialogue. And during that sequence, like a dozen people like got up from their seats and just did laps around the theater while they were jogging, and everyone else in the audience cheered them on.
Did you watch like a middle school pep rally?
Basically, that's what this was.
It doesn't sound too different from what I've heard going to see the Taylor Swift movie in theaters.
I've seen those videos.
That was airing in the theater. Like I walked past it and I heard the raucous from the theater as I walked past it. So I can imagine that's true.
The Taylor Swift movie, it seems like such a disaster that people like. I went to go see Killers of the Flower Moon, and apparently someone was like, in this theater they're only playing Taylor Swift movie Thursday through Sunday. Don't go see Killers of the Flower Moon while they're playing the Taylor Swift movie, because you're going to be able to hear them screaming from other theaters, because this movie is so quiet and they are so loud. Because Taylor Swift, the least considerate person, decided to tell them to act like they were at a real concert.
Oh yeah,
for the movie,
totally
in a movie theater.
Well, I mean, when I walked from outside the theater, Mitchell and I were walking up to we were trying to find the theater, to be honest, because Jake, you've been there. It's like tucked in the middle of the sort of shopping center. The entrance is kind of in the middle. And so you approach from the outside and they have the marquee, and you just have to walk around for like 200 yards until you find the entrance of the theater. It's a little weird. But as we're like walking around trying to find the entrance, we passed by, I'm guessing, the emergency exit door for the Taylor Swift movie, because it was immediately so loud coming through even just that door.
As if I couldn't dislike Taylor Swift and her fans more. She found a way.
Well, thanks, Mitchell, for inviting me to go see The Room in theaters. And as a result, I had to pick The Disaster Artist. In fact, I had switched out something I was looking forward to so that we could review this movie. So that's why I picked it. Scott, do you want his with a little bit of just the facts?
Yeah, so this was directed by James Franco. It was written by Scott Neustadter, Michael Weber, and Greg Sestero. Released December 8th, 2017. Runtime of 104 minutes. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 91%. IMDb gave it a 7.3. Had a box office of $29 million on a $10 million budget. So that's a 2.9 return. Did not win any awards, but it was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay.
And that third writer, Greg Sestero, in that list, Greg Sestero is Mark. So he's the guy who's played by Dave Franco in the movie.
So wait, it's based on a book.
That's what
the
Sestero wrote.
Yeah, which I listened to the audiobook of a few years back. It was pretty interesting.
Greg's book.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Greg.
Oh, hi, Greg. No, it's hi, Mark. Oh, hi, Mark.
But if it's
Greg plays Mark in the movie.
I get
So Dave plays Greg, who's playing Mark in The Room.
Okay.
Can I tell you guys something? I, from this movie, do not know what The Room is about.
The Room is not about anything. It is truly an unhinged film.
That's what I kind of was going to ask since you had watched it, because I was like, I don't know what this movie's about, but I don't know if that's just because it was written by crazy men.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, what you saw in the movie seems to be pretty closely accurate to real life.
It's about a man who has a wife, and the wife cheats on him, and he is
not even a wife, by the way. It's a little confusing in the movie.
Oh,
sometimes they're engaged.
Are they getting married?
Sometimes they're engaged and they're about to get married.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just boyfriend and girlfriend.
Okay.
And then at a couple of times they're referenced as husband and wife, but then she's like, "But we're not married," and it's very confusing.
Yeah.
Wait, he in the movie he says, "You're my wife," and she says,
It's something like that.
What?
No, it's someone else says like, "Your husband," and she's like, "But we're not even married." But like at one point they do all dress up in tuxedos, like the wedding's about to happen, and they go play football, but then the wedding never happens.
This is about as much confusion as I have
Yeah.
around Dom and Letty's
Oh,
wedding.
it's way more confusing than Dom and Letty's wedding. It's even more confusing than that. Yeah.
But essentially, it's him. He gets cheated on, and then he kills himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I feel like you could maybe say is a metaphor for Tommy feeling like Lisa's the world, and the world rejects Tommy's. They don't appreciate what he has to offer to Hollywood and to the world.
And Tommy has gone on record saying that the like analysis that shows up in this movie, that it's like, oh yeah, the universe is, Tom, or like the universe is Lisa, and Tommy's been betrayed by the universe. Tommy's like, yeah, no, that's true.
That tracks.
That's an
Sounds a little
appropriate
bit-
way to read.
I feel like that's
Sounds a
just
little bit
Tommy's
too
like,
coherent.
yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, that's what I want.
That sounds good.
That was basically what it sounded like when I heard him say it.
That
So-
was way better than what I was thinking.
Was he there? I know sometimes he'll like show up to these.
He
screenings.
wasn't at my screening. No,
Okay.
I heard him say that in the director's commentary of this movie, The Disaster Artist.
Did they have him on the director's commentary?
It was James, Dave, Tommy, Greg, and the two other writers of this movie all together on the
That's
commentary.
amazing.
It was terrific. I learned a lot about how real this was.
I feel like I know more than I need to know about this story, but I kind of still want to watch that.
It's incredible. It was so worth it. I highly recommend it. Just to even hear Tommy and Greg talk about some of the moments in this movie and be like, that's what happened. Like, or like at times Greg was like, yeah, you kind of captured it better than like, like you conveyed it more truly than how it happened. But like, that's how I felt, Huh. So anyway, Zach, you had obviously seen this movie before.
I had, yeah.
What do you think watching it again?
I liked this movie. I had a good time with it. I think it's a fun movie. It's definitely fun if you have seen The Room and kind of have just like an awareness of what it is. But I think it's like it works well enough on its own to where you don't necessarily need that. And I could be wrong because I don't know, Scott and Jake, like how much you guys kind of knew about The Room or that whole thing beforehand. So maybe I'm wrong on that. But I remember I saw it with Kate in theaters. She had no idea what The Room was, and she still had a good time watching it. I think it's funny. One of my favorite aspects of this movie is just seeing like all the famous people in this movie. There were so many more than I remembered being in it. So that was a lot of fun. I think it's a good time.
Yeah, I had before I pass it off to Jake, I had seen Disaster Artist before I saw The Room.
Okay, what'd you think of it then? The first time you saw it,
I liked it, and then I saw The Room, and then I felt like I understood it even more, and then I liked it more, and then I saw The Room in a crowd, and truly, that's the way to see The Room, like in a crowd. Don't see it by yourself.
Yeah, that's how I've watched The Room, and it's awful.
Yeah, I wouldn't. The first time I watched The Room, I watched it by myself.
I did watch it with
awful.
one person, and so first 30 minutes was like
choose a crowd.
The novelty wore off really quick.
That's fair. Jake, you were a late bloomer to this movie, The Disaster Artist.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So I had some familiarity with The Room because The Room got memed pretty hard when this movie came out.
Oh, sure.
And I got very quickly annoyed by The Room and The Room memes because I had a professor who worked them into every slide of her slide deck. And it was just like it just like didn't make any sense. And then like just like an oh hi Mark. And I was really annoyed. So I'm glad that we had 5 years of separation from that, just so I could get over my annoyance at it. I didn't really like this movie, honestly. Okay. Zach said two things that resonated with me, but maybe in a way that he didn't mean to. One is I feel like I know more about this than I wanted to know. I don't think this was necessarily a story that needed to be told. And it wasn't one that I really wanted to hear, if I'm honest.
Wow. All right.
I got over the novelty of the movie. The novelty of Tommy being a freak wore off pretty much after the first scene that he was in. I was like, all right, there's a lot more of this movie left. And I'm pretty over just watching this freak be a freak.
And by the way, of all of the movie stars we've ever talked about, Tommy is the most likely to ever hear
I
this.
was just gonna say that.
he is notorious for listening to things that come out about him. So,
well, all right. He doesn't seem like he's a very nice guy. So I don't know that I care.
I don't know about that.
Moved that guy to
Hollywood.
He paid for the whole thing.
And then he refused to pay for air conditioning or water and almost killed an old woman and humiliated another girl for like having a mole. Like,
oh, totally.
He didn't seem like a nice dude, or like he was just like, I don't know.
I mean, he's definitely a very troubled human. That's for sure.
I was over it pretty quickly, and I had a hard time. There were parts that I liked, and I think that I think this movie has a little bit of a quality of Napoleon Dynamite for me, where if I was to watch sections of it, not having had to sit through all of it, like our opening clip, I thought was funny. But when we got to it, I just was fatigued in the movie. So I was like, okay. But then we listened to it now. I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. So I think that, I don't know. I don't think I liked the movie. I think that pieces of it are enjoyable to watch, but I wouldn't want to watch it again. I also didn't really like the what's his name character who was his friend, Greg.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe that he fumbled Malcolm in the Middle and Alison Brie for this movie.
I mean, it happened in real life.
I know. I just couldn't believe that guy did. I can't believe that guy did that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I can't believe it.
Did you know that Alison Brie is actually Dave Franco's wife?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was just funny the way you phrased that. I was like, well, he actually didn't fumble Allison Brie because he nailed that.
Yeah, and Greg Sestero also did not fumble.
Did not fumble Allison Brie.
Well, whoever the
Sure.
girl was, I
Yeah.
forget her name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's I think you're gonna be in good company, and I was saving Scott for last. Scott, what do you think watching this movie?
So I started it. Got about 2 minutes in,
2 minutes.
All right.
maybe a couple more. It wasn't very long, and I was like, I'm just not ready to watch this right now. Like whatever space I'm in, I don't know what it is. But it's not this space. So then I tried again, like a few days later, and pretty much I got another couple minutes in, and I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
no, still not.
Did you rewatch the same couple minutes, or did you start?
I picked up where I was.
you just watched this movie in a couple minute break.
How many viewings did this take?
Well, then on my third one, I was like down to the wire because I had 2 days left to watch all of the movies, all 4 of the ones we were recording.
Oh wow. You usually like plan ahead of time.
Normally I'm like months.
Yeah.
I watched all of these in the last 2 days.
Why?
Wait, hold on. I have
Why
a
did
question
you do that?
for you then, because a couple weeks ago you said I'm going to be critical of Blade Runner. I didn't like it,
Uh-huh.
but you just watched it 2 days ago.
I hadn't seen it. I was just lying in our group chat so you wouldn't change the movie.
Oh, okay. I wasn't going to.
Because you had talked about changing it, and I was like, if I make it seem like I watched it, you're not going to change it.
That's true, but it was already too late at that point.
That's the only reason I was doing it. I was just trying to make it seem like I'd already watched it.
Okay.
So yeah, it was hard to get past just his character a little bit, and just James Franco probably did an amazing job like playing this guy, but it was just hard to get past. But after I got into it a little bit, it wasn't that bad. I definitely think it was an okay time. Like it wasn't Napoleon Dynamite to me, where like it was incoherent. Like it actually was like a story. All that being said, I would never watch this by myself again. I would consider watching it with a group again, probably similar to the actual movie The Room. I think this is probably like what you said, like funnier in pieces than having to watch the whole thing at once for me.
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't think this movie was near Napoleon Dynamite bad. I was just saying that is
It was reminiscent.
That's the way that I like to consume Napoleon Dynamite.
Right.
Is in chunks. Like I pick a scene, I watch it, and that's very funny.
Yeah.
But if I sit down and watch Napoleon Dynamite, I want to kill myself.
And you assume that this movie equally is a little bit just the sum of its parts. Like it's not greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, and I think it's less than the sum of its parts. Where I think you take a chunk, and I'm like, that's pretty funny. But then if I had to watch the whole thing, I would go for it.
Got it. Yeah.
So yeah, I want to not like it, but it's hard to not like it because it's based on such a crappy movie to begin with that I'm just like, maybe it nailed it. Maybe this was like a perfect movie, and I just don't know. I haven't seen The Room.
Right.
I'm
sorry. I was cutting you off.
So I would say I'm a little not sure where I'm going to rate this right now. I'm interested to hear where our conversation goes. Definitely not going to be super high. I don't think it would be super low either. I think there was a lot of fun things in the movie. I did love the huge cast. It was like every other scene, there was like a new person. I was like, oh, that person, why is this person in this movie? Which for a movie like this is fun. In a movie that's serious, I don't like that because I'm like, you're just so distracting from the story. And in this, I wanted to be distracted from the story. And so that helped actually a little bit. But yeah, I thought cinematography was good. I don't really recall the score at all, but
I think that this movie had more people I recognize in it than Lincoln. Like I recognized.
That might be true. Yeah.
I feel like most of the actors and actresses in this movie were like a big deal.
Because they had even the guys selling them the equipment was like Hannibal Buress and Jason Mantzoukas. So it's like, okay, these are pretty big actors to have a non-part in this film.
I recognized everybody that worked in that place. I think a couple of them were in the league together.
Yeah.
But like, it was just like, not even like, even the people that weren't super famous, I was like, I've seen you in something,
Yeah.
which is nuts.
Which, and I will say, by the way, like watching The Room after The Disaster Artist, the character that, or the character that Nathan Fielder is portraying, it's exactly the same like energy. Like watching The Room, that character, you're like, you're just Nathan Fielder. Like you're a poor man's Nathan Fielder. Like it was perfectly cast, that tiny role.
I was shocked that Nathan Fielder was in it for so long before he had a line.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that other guy was Zac Efron.
Yeah.
When he's like, I didn't recognize you without the beard. I was like, honestly, I didn't recognize him either.
Chris R.
Oh, like you didn't know that was Zach till the end of the movie?
Not until the very end of the movie. I was like, oh,
Oh,
that was
wow.
Zac Efron, huh?
Do I just have to
That's-
say the R?
Okay, so Tommy apparently really wants to make another feature film titled Chris R.
Would you go see it?
I will after this.
I won't.
Not alone, but I mean,
I don't
I'm
think
gonna
I'll
see
ever
it for
see The Room.
lulz.
I don't think I'll ever.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm picking up that RP is not gonna do The Room.
I would do it for this
I would do
podcast,
it.
but I guarantee you it's going to be the closest zero I've ever rated something.
I think
Oh,
the
yeah. I
only
feel like that'd be a little mean if we like actually did it for the like in season and rated it.
I feel like part of my problem with this movie is I felt it was a little bit mean. Like I felt like this movie.
okay,
was
that's
making-
interesting. I want to lean into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, keep going with that.
Because, and maybe it was just how I had read. Maybe I don't know. I just felt like this movie was made to kind of make fun of Tommy, to kind of portray him in a bad light, and it just didn't feel like it felt a little bit mean to me. Like when I was saying like he's a freak, I felt a little bit bad for that because I was like, I think the movie, what I was watching, I was like, the movie is trying to make me think he's a freak so bad and so weird and such a not nice dude. And I don't know anything. Maybe he probably isn't. But I just felt like this movie was a little bit mean. It was a little bit made to make fun of something that somebody wanted to make.
So I love that you brought this up. I think it's like the quintessential conversation of this movie because it's a movie about a bad movie and it's called The Disaster Artist. Like we know it was a disaster.
Uh-huh.
Like and I'm glad you brought that up because I felt the same thing the first time I watched it. I felt like it was a little bit mean as well. Having like seen The Room a little bit in theaters was part of my like change of perspective on this, but also like sitting through like and listening to a lot of people talking about this movie, The Disaster Artist, that were a part of it, and also listening to like Greg and Tommy talk about it outside of the director's commentary, but also like with the director's commentary. I think I realized that like in so many ways, this is really a celebration of like, this is a celebration of something that like, that was intended to be one thing, but was received as another.
Kind of like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
That was the only thing I could think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly in that same way. And so I appreciate it in that sense. Cause like I like one thing that like after watching The Room in theaters with a bunch of people who were like super excited about how bad this movie was, but like I was the uninitiated, like everyone else in the theater, including my friend Mitchell, like knew what the right like liturgy was next. Like it was a very like church-like experience. If you've ever been to like Catholic mass where it's like call and response, like I felt like I didn't know any of the responses at first, but like everyone else in the theater knew the response. And it was a sense of like, even though we're all laughing at this, we're all just getting so much genuine joy from it and from each other that like somehow it transcends making fun of somebody because they're able to in hindsight laugh too.
And that's conveyed in the film too. Like you see footage of what you just experienced.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? And so
I think that like maybe not having been there, it's still like all of that is at his expense and at its expense. Like I'm getting genuine joy, but I'm getting genuine joy out of being mean to you. And like and Tommy, I feel
and
like
that's and there's a little bit of, you're right, there's a little bit of sense of community with all of the people in the movie, the disaster artists, that while they're making it, they're making fun of him while it's happening. You're right. But then by the same token, like there's just, I don't know, there's something to like it, to be honest, even like just hearing Tommy's voice, you know, the guy who paid $6 million to make this awful movie, that he, like that whole scene at the end, like him talking about like, or the scene at the end where like he walks out of the theater upset and Greg kind of like tells him like, dude, they love this. Like Tommy was like, that all literally happened that night. Like I really turned around and saw and felt that like these people loved it. And for years later, for over a decade later, like he's packing out movie theaters still to like people to come and laugh at this movie. And he's okay with that. Like, he's like, it wasn't what I intended, but I'm happy with what it is. Like, I'm happy it brings people joy. I wanted to communicate who I was, and I felt like I did that. And yeah, like I thought it was serious. Everyone else thought it was funny, but I recognize how funny it is. Like, I don't know. There's something beautiful about that humility and that sense of like, I don't know, like he put his heart out there. And like even James Franco, like in like talking with him, like it's funny to watch them in interviews or to like hear the director's commentary, which again, I think you should. But like James Franco, when he's like talking to Tommy, he sometimes like emulates his voice a little bit, like, but he also just has completely emulated his speech pattern. Like he'll be talking to Tommy and he'll be like Tommy Wiseau typically like leaves out like certain conjunctives in like his sentence structure because he's not a native English speaker. And like James like leaves those out in the same way that Tommy does now.
He's from Big Easy.
Yeah, he's from Nolan. And like, I don't know, just even that like sense of like connection, like that, like this guy, Tommy, like put his heart and soul out to the world and the world didn't reject him. They embraced him. Yeah, sure. There is a sense of like this art that you created is crazy. It's ludicrous. It's so incoherent and nonsensical. And it just is funny because it's so incoherent. But the fact that he's laughing too makes me feel like this is authentic human connection, you know?
I feel like it's not all that different, Jake, than the way that you and I talk about like butt rock. Where
yeah, I'm not saying that that's nice.
I know, but it does also like, we are kind of making fun of it a little bit, but also there's like a place of like
This movie's
enjoyment,
butt
like
rock.
genuine enjoyment that we have when we like listen to butt rock and those bands. And we do have like a kind of a sense of love for like at least some of the songs.
That's
And it's
fair.
it's kind of both,
That's fair and that's interesting.
Like you can have this is crap, but I still love it. Even though I
Like
don't love
the
it
entire
for the
franchise
right
of Fast and
reasons.
Furious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the entire franchise so far.
Contest that I have that feeling about Fast and Furious.
I know
I
you
do
don't.
now.
I'm saying
I do now.
I'm saying the Fast and Furious fans, a large part of them don't think they're good. They just enjoy the movies.
A lot of Fast and Furious fans I know think they're good and like
That's true, but
There
not
are
all.
some.
Not all. Not all. Most of the Fast fans that I've talked to are like, yeah, we know they suck, but still do it. All right,
But
it's good.
that's for
But-
family.
that's something I can get on board with, and that's why I don't watch professional wrestling anymore. But that's one of the things I love about professional
Right.
wrestling. So I can get on board with that, and that's an interesting way of thinking about it, Zach. Now I need to think about that.
Yeah,
before
yeah.
I can render a verdict.
Scott, what I mean, you told me at least off pod that
Mhm.
you really hated James Franco's portrayal of this character, or maybe not portrayal, but you just hated watching him.
He just didn't seem like a real person.
Right.
Like he felt fake, and the way he like talked and interacted with people, it was just like a lot to handle, like that person would be in real life.
Yeah.
And once again, I don't know how accurate of a portrayal he did.
Did you watch to the post-credit sequence?
No. As soon as credits hit, I turned it off.
Really?
I never watched.
There's
credits.
a pretty great post-credit sequence where they're just at a rooftop party and James Franco playing Tommy and actual Tommy Wiseau have a conversation, and it's pretty hilarious.
Oh, I thought you were referring to like when you see the actual scene.
no, that's like in the credits.
Oh, I didn't know that there was a post-credit.
Yeah,
scene.
there's a post-credit scene like at the very end of the
Oh.
credits.
Okay, got
It's
it.
just 3 minutes of James Franco talking as Tommy Wiseau to Tommy Wiseau.
That's why I was surprised, Scott, that you said that. I mean, did you
doubt
not watch
Scott
that
watched
either?
From what it sounds,
The
sounds like.
I
the
stopped
the
as
shot
soon
by
as
shot
it was
comparisons?
done. As soon as the movie was done, I turned it off.
Okay, well, just so you know, they recreated frame for frame like 25 minutes of this movie of The Room for The Disaster Artist.
Mhm.
They didn't use all of it. And so everything that they didn't use, they put in the credits, like before the credits roll.
Mhm.
They like literally showed them side by side. But yeah, like all the cast and crew talked a lot about in making this movie, The Disaster Artist. They were like, it was insane. Like it was James Franco playing Tommy the entire time, like not quite method acting, but he would just kind of slip in and out of like being Tommy. But he's being Tommy for The Disaster Artist while being Tommy making The Room. So he's making 2 movies at once, playing as 3 different people, as James Franco, the director, Tommy Wiseau, the director, Tommy Wiseau, the actor. Like it's a little meta and intense. It's a little insane.
Glad I didn't watch it.
Cool.
Anyways, yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
That's something I want to.
NBD.
I was gonna say, like, method acting always sounds unpleasant and exhausting, but I can't think of anyone that I'd want to method act as less than Tommy Wiseau.
Oh, totally.
What about the Joker?
Yeah, you might kill
I
yourself.
think that Tommy Wiseau might be worse.
Yeah, I might want to kill myself
I
as
think I'd-
Tommy.
I
as
would
well.
want to kill myself if I was Jared Leto method acting the Joker.
If
If I did the things that he did, I'd
here's-
be like, all right, I'm going to kill myself.
here's the real, but here's the real task: is you, Jake, method act as Jared Leto, method acting as the Joker.
I get to the part where I method act Jared Leto, and
You
then I
already-
jump in front of a
Immediately.
bus.
Yeah.
Is that what Jared Leto would do?
No, that's what I would do. Having to get into his head.
One of the things that I thought was, I don't know, interesting about this movie is that in so many ways it's really a family affair. So you have James, who's working with Seth to make this movie.
Are they related?
No, but they've been working together since Freaks and Geeks, since they were
Mhm.
teenagers.
The Blood
they
Brothers.
they met as teenagers and they came up together, and many of their movies they've collaborated on
Mhm.
together. And so that's very familial in a lot of ways. Like it's 2 best friends. But then also, like, obviously James decided to cast his little brother as his co-star, and decided to cast his little brother's wife as his little brother's love interest. Like there's a lot of layers of built-in chemistry. I personally felt that play out on the screen, but I wanted to know if you guys felt like this was like we talked about it being a star-studded cast. Did you guys also feel like it was a cohesive cast?
I don't feel like anybody could ever have chemistry with anybody trying to be Tommy Wiseau. I don't feel like there was any chemistry.
That's
there.
crazy because I feel like there's such strong chemistry between. I mean, like just like on purpose. There is a ton. Like the whole purpose of the movie is really of The Disaster Artist is how a friendship can survive such a colossal like commercial failure, and like I feel like we feel all of that. Like the connection between Tommy and Greg is super palpable.
I didn't understand their friendship because I found Tommy so alien and weird that I don't think I could see the chemistry.
Really?
When you were 19, would you have moved to a different city with someone like that?
No.
I don't know. know, man. Like,
We've had this conversation before, though, to
that's
where like
not
Jake,
true.
because Jake, you were a mature, like, young person, and so then when a like maybe more dumb, immature, like irresponsible young person does something that doesn't make sense to you, it like takes you out of the movie. Where sometimes I think that can be like realistic.
I don't think that. Yeah, I think the thing was that I found, like, I think I can kind of take myself out of the equation and understand that young people will do these things. I just couldn't understand Tommy, like the connection to Tommy, because he was so weird.
But I'm talking about the connection to Greg, though.
I had connections when I was young with a couple of people that were older than me by quite a bit, by probably around this age gap, maybe a little less. That
How old is he?
We don't know.
He's
still to
Greg's
this
age.
day, he like refuses to like tell
Say any
anyone
of
his
that
age.
info.
Yeah. But like I had relationships like that. And Jake, I mean, like we were like, you became friends of me and Scott, and there was a huge age disparity there.
But you
Like,
guys are like normal.
Here's
are
how
we? Like,
how it
I don't
makes-
know that
Jake, you want to move with me to San Francisco?
I really don't like San
to make
Francisco.
movies.
here's how it makes sense to me is I feel like the film The Disaster Artist portrays Greg. Maybe you guys get a different read. I don't really get the impression that he has a lot of friends in this movie. He's playing football with like the little kids, and he's in theater class and he seems very insecure, very unsure of himself. And then Tommy comes around and like forces him, like pulls him out of his shell, and kind of in some ways I feel like kind of like inspires confidence in him and a sense of like spontaneity to his life that his life did not have prior. He takes him on a road trip to go see James Dean's grave. And then also not only that, and maybe this is a little like opportunistic on his part, but he has a way to Hollywood through Tommy. And so it's like this like logistically makes sense for me.
No, I got all that. I think Tyler was asking about, did I feel chemistry between them? And I just don't feel like Tommy has chemistry with anybody. So like the character Tommy is so weird that I didn't feel like he had chemistry with anybody because he's so unrelatable to everybody.
I am definitely on Tyler's side with this, that I did feel very much chemistry between the two. And I feel like this movie, and you could almost make the case was like, it was this like a little like romanticized or not, but the fact that Greg and Tommy still like collaborate together and still work together, I think goes to show that Greg has like a genuine,
They have a show on Hulu.
that he has a genuine like compassion for and like love for Tommy that maybe wasn't there like right away, but definitely has developed over time. And I think you can get that in the movie.
I'm not doubting that they have a real friendship. I'm just saying it didn't feel. I didn't feel the chemistry like he was saying.
I felt the chemistry.
Oh, I
definitely did.
felt it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
I don't disagree with you guys. Like, I feel like whenever those actors are together, like there's always chemistry.
The other people, I could see it, but I don't know. Tommy was just too weird to me.
I mean, he's very weird, but I don't know. He doesn't seem that complex to me. I don't know. Maybe I don't understand.
I didn't say complex. I said alien.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just saying, like, to understand somebody, like, I can't understand complex individuals. I can very understand weird but simple individuals. Like that's pretty easy to understand and easy to empathize with. Like,
I feel like we're spending too much time on this, but I'm not
That's
saying
fair. We can move
I'm
on.
not saying I didn't understand Tommy.
No, yeah, we
I'm
can
saying
move
I
on.
just didn't feel any chemistry between him and anyone
That's fair.
because I think he was a weirdo.
I feel like he had chemistry with Greg at the beginning, and then after the girlfriend thing is when the chemistry really shifted a lot.
Which narratively makes
narratively
sense.
makes sense. Yeah. What about what do you guys think about I mean, we've talked about some that there is a big cameo cast. What do you guys think about some of these cameos? In particular, I actually really liked Jake, who were you just talking about that you didn't recognize? Zac Efron.
Oh yeah,
I in particular really liked Zac Efron.
I think I liked Zac Efron even better because I didn't recognize him initially, and then when he showed up, I was like, "Oh, that's crazy."
Zac Efron's my favorite. I think he's the funniest cameo that comes up in this movie. But I remember thinking when the cast was announced, and then more specifically when I saw like people in costume, Tyler, the way that you were describing how that dude was the perfect Nathan Fielder. That's how I felt about Josh Hutcherson's character.
Oh yeah,
Denny.
man. Yeah.
And I think because Denny is the character in the room that maybe makes less sense to me than Tommy.
Way less sense. I mean, Denny is the character that makes literally zero sense.
And Josh Hutcherson in that wig, it was just perfect.
It was
casting.
hilarious.
I loved Josh Hutcherson in this movie.
Are
So-
you Googling Denny?
I was googling Josh Hutcherson because I knew the
Okay.
name, but I couldn't place the face.
Hunger Games.
Yeah.
In Disaster Artist, when they have that scene and Josh Hutcherson goes, I don't know how old I am. And he's like, character same age as you, like 15. And he's like, I'm 26. And he's like, same thing. Like, that's actually like how, like in the room, like when you're watching it, like you're like, they're acting like this kid is a teenager and he's doing things that make no sense for a teenager to do, but he also looks like he's like 30 years old. Like he does not look like a teenager.
Like Bama Boy?
Of all the problematic
like, way
aspects
worse.
of the room, I
Way
think
worse.
Denny is the most problematic.
He's also not only does he look 30 in the room, but all of his lines are super creepy and like voyeuristic and like wanting to be like they shoot it for Disaster Artist, but there's a scene where Tommy goes, I'm going upstairs. Like Denny comes in and he's like, oh, hi Denny, like I'm going upstairs. And he goes, cool, can I come too?
Oh yeah, that was weird.
And then Lisa goes like, I think he means me, like I'm going with him. And then he just hangs around and then goes upstairs and joins a pillow fight.
Yeah.
And it is just ludicrous to watch. It's insane. Like you're like, how do any normal humans act like this? In Tommy's mind, normal humans act like this, but no normal human acts like
Pretty
this.
awful.
You kind of talked me up on The Room.
Honestly,
Not on Disaster Art, it's The Room.
You can watch like YouTube compilations of the most like batshit insane parts of that movie.
Uh-huh.
10 minutes, and that's all you really need to see.
But I would highly recommend to all of our tots out there, find a friend and a midnight screening and go see The Room in theaters, because it will not disappoint. It is absolutely ludicrous and somehow just incredible. Like I truly can't wait to go do it again.
Do you know how you just lost Scott more than anything? Midnight screening.
Yeah,
You can't get Scott out of the
That's
house
true.
at midnight.
I mean,
I
mine,
went for Marvel,
mine was 10.
You don't have to do that anymore though.
You
So
don't.
you wouldn't.
so it's been a while.
Mine was 10 p.m. But like most of the time, they're usually midnight screenings. So.
Scott, are you still keeping up with Marvel?
Mhm.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
That's like a full-time job.
Like all of
Loki
it.
season 2 is actually fantastic.
Loki season 2 is out.
It has, and it is truly incredible.
Yeah, it's some of the best MCU we've seen since Endgame.
Yeah, I think it is the best since since Endgame.
I have a job. I can't watch like 30 hours of
I'm not-
content a week.
I'm
you
not
know?
watching anything else Marvel.
Uh-huh.
I was just really excited for
The
Loki.
Loki season 1 was really good.
I
Season
liked
2 is
it.
even better.
Okay.
I don't have a Disney Plus subscription anymore, so I can't.
Yeah,
It's not worth it
season
to me
2's
to get one for
really.
that.
Are you like going and seeing these movies in theaters? Are you going to see the Marvels?
Yeah, I already have tickets.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay.
If you invited me,
I've
I would
seen
go.
every MCU movie and Disney Plus show.
Do you
that's
still-
live action? I haven't watched like all. Although I did watch What If.
Do you still enjoy it?
Some of them are better than others.
Uh-huh.
There's been a couple really not great things. I wasn't a huge fan of She-Hulk.
Yeah.
But you
which I-
watched all of it.
Yeah,
Why?
I don't. That's the only thing I really watch.
Yeah,
That
that's
is, like
his-
the movies for this podcast.
He
and
picked a
then other
franchise.
things.
Like he's just living
I
in
guess-
that franchise.
I mean, Jake, you said like I have a job. I don't have time to keep up with this. But I guess if you only watch MCU, that kind of like evens out to the rest of us where we're watching non-MCU content.
That's true. That's true. That makes sense.
Zach
like-
and I are watching The Bear, and you know,
all my-
watching
just
Peaky
binged,
Blinders.
Peaky Blinders is
and,
over.
you know.
You watch
all
The
of
Sopranos.
my free time is going to Baldur's Gate 3 right now.
Well,
but
yeah, and even
uh,
that, yeah.
eventually I'll watch TV again.
Is that a video game?
Yeah. I
Jake-
have a lot of games to catch up on,
Jake,
I don't know how I knew that and you didn't.
especially because I talked to you about it because I thought you would like Baldur's Gate.
Oh, that's the one you talked to me about.
And Baldur's Gate is like it's like the big game right now.
It's like
it's 3, right? It's the third one. Yeah.
It's like a D&D type game.
It's D&D.
Yeah.
Jake, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that you would absolutely hate going to like the Room screening at midnight with all the fans. Like why?
That I don't know. Maybe it's different to watch a terrible movie with audience participation, but I hate participation and I hate when people are talking. I hate when people are clapping. I just want to watch the movie. So to have people like throwing spoons in the, like if I was watching a movie and then I got hit by a plastic spoon, I would lose my mind. Like I couldn't do it.
I lost my mind too, but in the opposite way. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
But maybe
you're like,
I think that
this has been an option this whole time.
I think that for a movie like this, where it's clearly not about the movie, then maybe I would feel differently. But
and you don't need to be keyed into the dialogue and not know what's going, because you're already just not going to know what's going on.
Yeah, so maybe it would be different in this case because of all of that. But in general, I hate when anybody makes any noise during a movie.
Because we've seen a few Marvel movies together and there's always clapping.
Yeah, that's because Scott starts it most of the time because he knows I hate it.
That's true.
He looks me in the face and then he starts clapping.
I normally like lean over
and he knows.
and like make eye contact and then get my hands out. And then...
like I had to watch Spider-Man twice because I honestly didn't hear a lot of it.
Between my crying and Scott's clapping.
Yeah. It was just like, so like that whole scene where all the Spider-Men come out, I was like, I didn't hear any of this. So I'm going to watch this again.
You should have started some clapping during Oppie.
You should have.
I would have, but it was too hot and that would have generated.
you were aggressively trying to regulate.
Yeah. Scott, that
earlier when you were talking about
your
favorite movie experience of all time, I was like, oh, it wasn't the 118-degree movie theater that I watched Oppenheimer in.
That was probably up there though.
I was completely
up there,
completely comfortable during that, and I'm the only one, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a solid movie watching.
My shorts were drenched when we came out of the movie theater. I was so sweaty.
I was wearing long pants.
Yeah.
I will say, I think of my top three, Zach, you were a part of two of them, of my favorite movie experiences of all time. Oppenheimer was it was second for sure, and then third was Cloud Atlas.
Cloud Atlas was special.
Yeah, that was a great movie experience.
I don't remember, this one is not one of my like top ones, but the Disaster Artist was actually kind of special for me too, because I got to see like an advanced screening.
Oh,
and there were some things that they kind of changed. I couldn't tell you what it was at this point, but that was fun too. And they like, asked us some questions about the film afterwards and whatnot. But Cloud Atlas was really cool. I think especially because it just came down to the wire of can we even get in? And then it also just blew our minds and was the best film we've ever seen, even to date.
And it was free, right?
Oh yeah, it was also free.
It was free. Yeah.
I'd be open to watching it again. No, at the time I really disliked it, but I was also at the time not really into any kind of artsy movie.
Here's the thing. Zach almost nominated this year and I rewatched it and it is super problematic.
Oh,
I encouraged us to not watch it because I was like, yeah, honestly, looking back, like this did not stand up to like social criticism over time.
That's kind of why I haven't rewatched it in a very long time.
Yeah, you want to let it live in
kind of. Yeah, I have like a special memory of this movie.
Do you want to be the guy who apparently really likes a problematic movie, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I love this so much, and then somebody's like, that guy's
here's the thing. I still love it that much. Like I still love it just as much. I just don't want to have to like talk about it on the internet.
And here's the thing.
Okay. I don't know how problematic it is. I've never seen it, so I don't know.
Whenever I tell people, and this doesn't happen often, like almost never, but if I tell people I like Cloud Atlas, it's never wow. Like that tells me something about your character. It's what's Cloud Atlas.
Yeah. No one knows of it.
Really?
No one's seen it.
Even before we did this podcast, I definitely heard of it. I never watched it.
You probably heard of it from them though.
Like kind of a funny anecdote regarding JP. Friend maybe / enemy of the pod, JP.
Frenemy. Yeah,
frenemy of the pod. He apparently got
good.
Yeah. He apparently got a group together to go see Cloud Atlas for his birthday, and all his friends hated it and were really upset at him for making it.
That makes me sad.
Dumbass birthday boy over here.
Makes me really sad.
He probably deserved it.
Did he bring his rats?
He may have.
There were
He has
no rats
rats?
featured in the
He has
movie, so I doubt it. You know, it wasn't like going to see.
Does he only
Well,
bring his
whatever, I
rats
forgot
to
the
see
room.
rat
no
content like
Right.
Ratatouille?
When there's
Ratatouille. Yeah,
when there's
that's a good
rats
one.
on the screen, you throw your rats in the air.
And you're yeah. And you yell out rats and you throw them in the air, but like a handful of them, not just
Yeah.
one at a time,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a handful of
Gotta
rats.
How many rats do you think you get in one hand? They're kind of big.
I don't know, three.
If you freeze them,
3 rats in one hand?
if you
Well,
freeze them
in
and grab them
two
by the
hands
tail,
to like throw up.
You
in the
you
air.
grabbing them by the tail?
yeah,
Okay.
Oh well, I could.
If you
definitely
grab them
get
by
a
the
lot,
tail, I
yeah.
could do it. You'd make like a rat king.
I
They
could
just-
get, yeah,
they
I could
just-
do a lot.
they don't like it very much, so they start trying to bite you.
But I can get 3 rats sort of like between my 2 hands to hoist into the air,
I could see that. I don't know how high you could throw them like
side
that.
by side. Just
I could see you grabbing them. I don't know how you'd be able to throw
I
them.
feel like
like
our,
they'd survive the fall and then they'd be
Yeah.
mad at you.
yeah. Oh
Uh,
well, not me. They'd be mad at whoever they landed on.
That's true.
our group needs to establish a thing that we bring to movie theaters and throw in the air whenever it happens.
Not
Jake will
spoons
never come
or
with us
rats.
to a
That's
movie
not,
again.
yeah, that's not spoons or rats.
I mean, I would think it would be potatoes.
Oh god, we do some damage to some people depending on what kind of potato you
Or
get.
tater tots.
Tater tots.
We could throw tater tots.
We just got to have like a pocket full of tater tots every
Like
time we
Napoleon
go.
Dynamite?
Yeah, we can do
goes to
tots.
movies.
You just-
They should go tots.
That might fly in a Napoleon Dynamite showing. Which I
Jake,
don't
would
wanna
you go to us to watch Napoleon Dynamite at midnight with tots in your pocket?
Yeah.
every time tots comes up, we throw a fistful of
And you know,
tots into
that's
the
not
air.
just the one scene. There's a couple
I
scenes.
know
with
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it would be great.
That'd be pretty funny. Especially because it's not a thing and people would be pretty upset.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right. Well, what do you guys say we put this one in the books?
Tyler, this was your movie.
I'm gonna give this a 7.2. High marks. Dang it. I really could have done a lot out of that, and I really panicked.
Jake,
I'm going to give this, I don't know, 6.5 girls not hit.
I did not.
I'm going to give this a 6.8 times to shoot yourself in the mouth and then get back up and shoot yourself in the mouth again. Zach?
Solid.
I'm gonna give this 7 high doggies.
Oh, dang it. I was gonna at the end, I was gonna be like, you know what, never mind, 7.2 high doggies, but frick.
All right, this comes out to a 68%. So that makes it movie number 113 out of 153. Once again, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 91%. So well under them, but IMDb gave it a 7.3, so fairly close to them.
I feel like a meme movie, you can't trust the Rotten Tomatoes score because people are going to come and meme on it and be like, I like this. But
Except
was
this
that the
is-
critic score?
It's
or
the critic score.
Oh,
It's the
I have no
critic
idea then.
score. I mean,
that
most-
shocks me. Then.
We
again,
always use the critic
this,
score.
This got nominated for best adapted screenplay. Like, this was a beloved movie when it came out.
pretty
Like,
nuts.
yeah.
Jake, we're going to you next week.
Oh, we are. Well, we're watching a movie that I picked.
Dude, I think this episode is just going to be effed up.
Oh, Patreon. Thank you guys so much. Oh, thrown Liquid Death. Not sponsored, but I still highly recommend.
I overheard a conversation in Target, Tyler, that I feel like you would have loved to overhear, where somebody was like, "Oh, this is like," they saw Liquid Death and they were like, "This is really interesting. I'd like to know like, the story of this brand." And I was like, "Man, if Tyler was here, he would join this
Oh,
conversation."
I would jump right in.
Yeah.
I really would.
I thought about it and then I was like, I want to go home.
When I was in, I don't know what it is about me that does this, but when I was in Croatia, I was sitting by myself. Like, we had just gotten there and everyone's like kind of getting unpacked and, taking a nap or whatever. And I walked around the city a little bit and I ended up just in this little cafe, drinking a cocktail. And next to me was the couple that were speaking English, clearly from America. And there was like something in between them. And they're like, I wonder what this is. And I happened to know what it was. And so I just like, I was like, you know what? I'm sorry to interject, but that's eavesdropping, but I actually know what this is. And I asked about it. They're like, that's great. We ended up having like a really long conversation. I don't know what it is about me that
No, I'm not.
inserts myself into other people's business, but
I'm not
I
saying
do it a
there's-
lot.
I'm not hating on it.
do it a lot.
It's not a move that I would make.
yeah,
but-
yeah.
But you
Like,
also really like brand stories.
He just
I
likes
do,
he
and
loves
this
Liquid
brand
Death,
story in particular.
and
yeah.
he likes things about the brand in particular. I feel
Right,
like where I feel like he would like to talk about that.
It's
Right.
like Liquid Death and Uncle Nearest.
Oh,
have been
yeah.
the two big ones in the
That's
last couple years.
that's a conversation that I was at. I went to the Rooftop Cinema Club. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
Mm.
So I went to go see Everything Everywhere All at Once there, and they had like a bar. And I went, and then she was like, "Oh, have you had?" I ordered a drink that had Uncle Nearest in it. She's like, "Have you had this?" I was like, "Actually, I went to the distillery." And then I was talking to her about it, and then the entire time I was talking, she just kept pouring. So I just talked because I was just getting a bigger pour, so I just kept talking.
Yeah, I mean, keep talking until she stops.
Pretty much.
You hacked her brain, and
Yeah.
you need to not stop until
Pretty much is what happened.
the hack gets patched.
Yeah. Seriously, it was. I went 3 times on the shot glass there.
That's awesome. Well, Patreon, thank you guys so much. We love you, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
I'd like for you to stop doing